What's up everybody, Cory York here, co-creator and CEO of webware.io. Thanks so much for joining me. Today, I'm going to be talking about one of the most impactful tools and strategies that I've implemented that have helped me run my business and build my business from zero to over $15 million in annual revenue. Building my company Webware and the companies before that, I always had a team helping me get there. And it was really important for us to be aligned and on the same page and not pulling on the same rope in opposite directions. And that's why the weekly meeting, or as we call it, the weekly pulse, is the most important tool in my bag of tools. Let's get into the weekly pulse. In my experience over the last 20 years, building teams from 0 to over 300, I felt common frustration with other business owners building teams is that you feel like you're just wasting a ton of time. Time is all you have as a business and an owner, and you want to make sure you maximize the work time you have and your team's work time. And I felt that not having this working, this meeting, led to a ton of just time being wasted on things that didn't matter, people working on the same thing and pulling in opposite directions, or not having that little piece of information or that context to something you're working on. And I felt that this ultimately led to a lot of my teams just not performing. I know also being a leader of people, it's really frustrating and brings down the whole group when someone on your team just isn't bought in. Also from building companies, I know that rots teams from the inside out and really just takes away your ability to perform is having no accountability. So does your team and its members know what they're responsible for? Is it clear when something's falling behind who is accountable and responsible for that part of the business and what are they going to do about it? All happens and gets solved when you run the right meeting in the meeting weekly pulse that I'm going to talk about right now. And if you've ever been working on achieving a goal with a group of people and having the issue where no one is collaborating together, it's important that a team works together day in and day out to help push everything towards that goal. So if the team isn't pulsing and collaborating and getting that context clear, it really stops a team from being able to achieve things. My big 3 promises to you, after you watch this training, you will know how to run the right weekly team meeting in the right format, going over the right things that's gonna help your team push towards your success goals. If you implement the weekly pulse, here's what you should expect. 1, more positive energy. With the weekly meeting pulse, your team is going to celebrate the wins as a group, acknowledge the performers, and really get the meeting started off on the right foot. Number 2, a self-managing company. I've used the weekly pulse to help my team get on the same page and align over the issues that are stopping them from reaching their goals. And because I've created the space for that team to come to every week, they are able to self-manage the business. And I am simply now creating the environment and the space for them to have those discussions, update each other so that they can work together, collaborate, and get to the finish line. And if you're a busy owner like myself, having more free time is the thing we want the most. Whether it's spending more time on making your product better, or more time with your clients, or more time with that family, we know that we can value from a team that self-manages the business. Number 3, I've grown many companies, and one of the most frustrating things is having performance that isn't consistent. And if you want consistent performance, that improvement every single week, every single month, this meeting will help your team achieve that by knowing and having clear accountability, clear scorecarding, and knowing exactly where you want them to go will help your team get you there, and it will help create consistent performance of getting better. And if you're gonna grow any business, you need your team to be high performance. And before I would not run this meeting, after I ran it, I saw high performance and my team was able to really get traction going. So this meeting is gonna let your team turn into a high performing unit. Number 5, solve issues faster. If you're trying to grow a business and you have a vision, the only thing in the way of you achieving that goal is a list of issues. So with this meeting, I've turned my team into an issue solving machine. And that's exactly what this meeting pulse will do for you. If you're solving issues every day and your team is doing it for you, everything's going to come together, feel better, give you more time and freedom, and they're probably going to make better decisions as a team than you would trying to do it all on your own. So teach your team how to solve issues forever. Early on in my career, when I started my first companies and I built my first set of teams, often I would be the person that would talk to everyone, try and understand the issue, and then be the speakerphone or the intercom to everybody, where I would understand from this person what the issue is, and I go to another person and I explain what that person's issue was, and I try and understand, and back I'd go by myself to solve that issue. And that was inefficient, and often I would miscommunicate what their other person's real issue was. And I wasn't able to give it the context and describe it in the way that other person could. So by bringing them together and facilitating the conversation and creating that space for teams that have to work together really allowed me to resolve issues faster and more efficiently because I was no longer the blocker. And when I implemented the weekly meeting pulse, it was a game changer. My team would come together every single week, same time, same place, same agenda, and we knew that that was the place where we were going to work out the big issues, talk about our big initiatives, and align on the score and where we need to go that week and the week after. This was the meeting that was a big turnaround for my company, where I was finally able to gain traction with my team. The more often a team pulses together, the more successful and the faster they will move. Another huge opportunity, and I know this might be a frustration that you felt, is that you're constantly getting phone calls and emails and messages that you need to respond to. And this can end up taking up a lot of our time throughout the day and distracting us from the really important things we're trying to do. So by implementing the weekly meeting pulse, this gave my team a place where they knew they can bring their issues, a place where they knew to talk about their wins, a place where they knew we're going to look at the progress and the scorecard of what they are doing. And most importantly, a place where they knew they were going to be able to work on the issues together as a team. And what this did was reduce a huge amount of that communication overhead. And you know what I'm talking about. It's those middle of the day unplanned phone calls, or that business by text in Slack or Google Chat or over SMS that takes you away from what you're doing. By creating a weekly meeting pulse, everyone knew that they should wait for that time where they can talk about their issues while everyone who's affected is present and can provide context and feedback. So a lot of people ask me, especially my other business friends when we're hanging out, why does your phone never ring? How come you're the biggest company in the group, but you seem to not get any interrupted phone calls or messages? And how do you do that? And I explained to them that this meeting has created that ability for my team to know how and when to communicate. Okay, let's get into what is and what makes up the weekly meeting pulse. Here's how the agenda goes. The first thing you're gonna do, number one, is celebrate. You wanna start that meeting off by creating some positive energy. You want to allow your people to celebrate and talk about their wins, and for them to receive praise from the group. This is a great time for A players to show that they're A players. It's also going to show when you have C and D players on the team, so you know who needs to be coached up or coached out. We usually celebrate personal wins, professional wins, or client wins. All three are important. Professional wins are gonna let you listen and hear if your team is working on the right things. Personal wins are gonna allow you to follow along that person's personal life so you can create connection. And customer wins are gonna allow you to hear what are the great things you're doing for your customers and knowing where your business is winning right now. Number two, we head into announcements. This is where you want to get departures from the team, new people announced, policy changes, any decisions that have been made throughout the week that might affect the team. So we also include vacation updates. So everyone knows what's happening, what are the latest news announcements, policies, decisions made, and who's not in office and who's away. Number three is the scorecard. Measuring what matters is critical to building a business. And having the scorecard as part of your weekly meeting pulse agenda, where everyone has and owns a number and is expected to report on it in a weekly cadence, where it shows, is my progress from the previous week up or down, and am I on target to the goals that I set? So having every person in the meeting accountable to a set of numbers, usually 3 to 5 main dials that are activity based, that you know if they're going up, your business is gonna go up. For example, activity-based metrics would be, I'm in doing sales and I'm head of sales and I close deals over doing demos, then how many demos I set, how many demos I ran, how many demos I closed would be activity-based metrics. The key thing is to give everyone a metric that is activity-based, that is measuring the core value-added process they are responsible for. A core value process is something that you know if it goes up, the most important financial metrics will increase. So for example, I know if our talk time on my sales team goes up, that my sales will go up. Therefore, my activity value-based core process is on the phone. My sales reps being on the phone. That is the value-added process that if they do more of, my sales will go up. Make sure everyone has clear expectations on where their number should be every single week, month, quarter, and year. Use the weekly meeting pulse to review it on a weekly basis. Number 4 is your rocks or projects. Number 4, rocks. Rocks is anything your team is doing that takes more than 7 days. That should be a rock. There should be a clear outcome goal that tells everyone if the rock is achieved, where will they be, what will they feel, and what has happened is clearly written for every single rock, including milestones with dates. And in the weekly meeting pulse, everyone goes over their 1 to 3 rocks, no one should have more than that, and they say whether they're on track or off track. Avoid any discussion at this phase. It's on track, off track. Off track, let's create an issue, and when we get to the issue session, if it's a high priority issue, the team will solve it then and there today. Number 5, to-dos. During your meeting, lots of commitments are made. People are asked to do things, and every time it's committed to, it should be written down on the to-do list. This to-do list should be reviewed at this point in the meeting for what to-dos were owed from the last meeting. This is going to create accountability for everyone on your team to do what they said they would do. You would be shocked at how most teams don't have a simple to-do list, and when someone says they're gonna get that thing done, it just doesn't get done. It just doesn't happen. And the power of having a to-do list where everyone knows when you commit to something, next week you will be asked whether you did it or not. So in this section, it's here's the to-do list. John, you're supposed to review the contract and make some changes. Is it done or not? There's no discussion, there's no excuses. It's done or not. If it's not, and 2 weeks go by and it's still not, an issue gets created for the team to discuss in the issue section. Number 6, my favorite, the issues list. If your team is not solving issues every single time they get together, then you are not moving forward and you will not get any traction towards your goals. The only thing standing in the way of you achieving your goals are a list of issues. And in the weekly meeting pulse, the issues list is the most important part of the meeting. Generally, your meeting should be 60 to 70% spent on solving issues. It's really important when you have an issues list to spend time sequencing what are the most important issues. So when you get into the issues list section of the weekly meeting, start with asking your team which are the issues that should be the most important. My team rates them 1 to 5. 5 being must be spoken about today. 4 is must be spoken about today only if the 5s are all done. 3 is it can wait for another meeting. 2 is it's not that important, and 1, it can wait for later. Try and come to a team agreement on which of the issues are the ones that need to get solved today, and start with those issues. Number 7, conclude and get feedback. Here's where you want to talk and review what did everyone commit to today. So you're going to peruse through the new to-dos and list them out so everyone knows what is expected. And then you're going to ask for feedback on did this meeting meet your expectations? 1 to 10. 10 being it was an amazing meeting and I got everything I needed accomplished and solved. 1 being this was a total, utter waste of time. If the responses are under 9, you want to make sure you respond back by asking that person, what is it we need to do to turn that 6 into an 8 or a 9? And write down what they say, and if you can, assign it to someone in your team to get it done. Add it straight to the to-do list for next